different. If it helps you, that's
absolutely.
great.
And
but that doesn't mean it's true.
Well, it's true for me. You see, I believe.
You mean true for you is different from true for anybody else? How can something be true for you?
Because I can't
Something's either got to be true or not.
I can't. No. I can't prove to you that Jesus is God. So that truth is mine and mine alone. But you can't prove to me that Jesus is not. So you have to stay in your little
You can't
belief
prove
system.
that Zeus is not. You can't prove that Apollo is not. Or
Well, I
Mithras
saw
is not.
Apollo, man. He was down there. All right, go ahead. Take your best shot. Convince the atheist there is a deity.
Well, that's quite a challenge. Please watch the entire content tonight, but give me 60 seconds and I'll give it my best shot. I'm a pretty simple guy. I'm looking into a camera lens right now, and I conclude that someone must have made this camera lens. It's pretty complex. Now, you have an eye that has 137 million light-sensitive cells, far more complex than this camera lens.
Yes, a camera did have a maker. However, a camera has not evolved over millions of years. The eye itself is one of the most beautiful creations of evolution. For instance, we know that there are many different types of eyes found in animals, and we know that the eye has undergone changes over time based on the fossil record. Here's a brief evolutionary story of what we know about the eye from fossil records. The earlier predecessor of the eye was a simple patch of photosensitive cells, physically similar to receptor patches for taste and smell. This was called an eye spot. In the Cambrian period, pit eyes developed. These were seen in ancient snails and are still found in some invertebrates living today, such as planaria. During the Cambrian explosion, the development of the eye accelerated rapidly, with radical improvements in image processing and detection of light direction. In evolutionary terms, the eye developed quite quickly, over the period of only a few million years. During this period, we see the arrival of the pinhole camera eye. The pinhole camera eye was developed as the pit deepened into a cup, then a chamber. By reducing the size of the opening, the organism achieved true imaging, allowing for fine directional sensing and even some shape sensing. Eyes of this nature are currently found in the nautilus. Lacking a cornea or lens, they provide poor resolution and dim imaging, but are still a major improvement over the earlier eye spots. The eye is commonly used by creationists and intelligent design theorists to try and discredit the fact that the eye is based upon interlocking parts which would not have been useful alone. However, this is easily refutable because if the eye is of God's perfect creation, then why does a large majority of the world wear glasses? To follow this logic would suppose the fact that God made the eye, but unfortunately didn't make it perfectly. It also fails to acknowledge the fact that animal eyes are adaptations to their surrounding and have changed over time. This has been dependent upon hunting styles as well as location. For instance, cats have good night vision because they are solitary predators who hunt at night. This is an evolutionary fact. This was not just given to them, this has changed over time. Bats have no eyes, but instead use radar to navigate. So we know that God's perfect creation has flaws, and thus eyes with decreased functionality in humans and in numerous other species will still tend to be more beneficial than having no eyes at all.
If the camera lens can't come together without a designer, neither can your eye. Design proves to a guy like me that there is a designer. Nothing becoming something, blowing up and becoming an organized everything, just doesn't fit logic to me.
Okay, this is where Kirk makes another blatant falsehood. Evolutionists don't believe that life came from nothing. In the beginning there were chemicals, there was light, and we had some water on Earth as well. We know that these chemicals are not only found on Earth, they are numerous throughout the entire solar system. We also know that amino acids, which are the building blocks of life, parts of proteins, can be made with electrical charges. You can think of lightning for an example of how this could possibly happen. So the idea of something coming from nothing is actually the creationist's theory. It has nothing to do with evolution at all. Following creationist logic, we have an Earth, there's nothing here. Then God made everything. So it's only creationist theory that something can come from nothing.
Plus, Darwin said in order to prove evolution, which is the #1 alternative to God, you've got to be able to prove transitional forms, one animal transitioning into another. And all through the fossil record and life, we don't find one of these. A crocoduck. And all through the fossil record and life, we don't find one of these. A crocoduck. There's just nothing like it. There is no one animal transitioning into another.
You can poke holes in the evolutionary process, and you can poke holes, as I did, in the Big Bang Theory or whatever crazy thing they're trotting out here. But then they're going to come back and they're going to say, look, over the course of civilization, there really has never been a demonstrable proof of a deity, and you say... of a deity, and you say,
oh, but there absolutely is. Like we said, the fact that you can see the complexity of design within the natural world demands that there must be a designer. Einstein said that. Dawkins has been answered. The fact that a painting proves there must be a painter, 100% absolutely. The human body proves there must be a designer because of its complexity and because of the information we can see down at the DNA level.
It's interesting. The argument you're making is interesting. It's along the lines of my argument, because I say, listen, sun goes up, sun goes down, tide comes in, tide comes out. There's no miscommunication. There's a storm, there's regeneration, and it would be a leap of faith far beyond believing in Jesus or Buddha or Allah to think that it just accidentally got that way. So that's where my faith derives from reason, as yours does. Now, why do you think, and I heard this happened on Nightline, we talked to some people over there, they got pretty nasty with you guys.
Yeah, well, I was thinking, what did I get myself into? I mean, they were so angry that at the very end of the debate, the lady says, I would, you know, for people who don't believe in God, they're sure pretty angry with them. I mean, she said, I'd rather go to hell than to believe in a megalomaniac like God. That's pretty harsh language, and you'll hear that tonight.
There's a lot of bitterness on the atheistic side, but there's some bitterness in the religious community as well, and we've seen intolerance at that level. Look at the jihadists. I mean, look at these people in the name of Allah blowing up babies. So I think but it'll be interesting for the audience to see how you and your partner Comfort act tonight and how your opposition act. Mr. Cameron, always good to see you. Thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Unstoppable!